I'm okay being me.
Are we on air?
We've been on air for 8 minutes.
Not 8 minutes.
Yeah, we have. I've been recording this whole time. Well, just you never know what you're gonna catch. I'm gonna cut most of this out.
That's true. You could.
It's all gonna get.
There wasn't anything good in that one.
No. Let's just start.
Welcome to the Odd Drunk Podcast,
Ugh.
and we are talking all about future. The future. The distant future. The year 2000.
My headphones are making weird
Mine are too.
buzzing noises and
That's because it's the future. There's buzzing noises everywhere. When you talk, everything sounds like this because we're all robots and human beings have been exterminated.
well, I haven't.
Neither have I, because it's not the future yet.
Wait,
But it will be the future when this episode comes
It
out.
will be. Whoa.
Whoa.
So we're actually talking. We're talking about.
We're kind of time travelers.
We're talking about the future, but we're talking to you from the past.
But it's our future.
Yeah.
Because this episode doesn't
You are-
come out.
You are in our future.
But that's your to the listener, that's your present. But if you listen to that, no, it's always going to be your present. But it can be your past as well. But it's our future.
Yeah.
It's our future. It's our present and our future at once.
I'm confused.
It's don't worry about it. It's time travel. It doesn't have to make sense.
Ugh. It's been a long week.
Yeah, it has.
It has. So this is going to be a episode where we really just wing it. We do that on a lot of episodes, though.
We are not winging it here. We are talking about the future. Why don't you roll that intro?
That's a good idea.
It's the Odd Drunk Podcast, a very strange podcast. The drunkest show in the world. It's Jackson and Colton talking out of their ass. We don't care as long as drinks are poured. Sometimes we have our friends here. We will talk about anything. We don't care as long as we have beer. And if you let that whiskey ring. The Odd Drunk Podcast.
And we are back.
Yeah, I hope you liked that.
Now, to set the mood.
When you go onto Google and search the future, nothing else, just the future. There's a lot of God images.
Like Lovecraftian god images or like normal?
like praying. Like Christian God images, and that I don't like that.
Well, isn't God or no angels in the Bible is just like rings within rings?
Yes and no. That's one description of them. There's a lot of different ways angels are described in the Bible. And if you get into like angelology and all that shit.
Angelology.
Yeah, like demonology and angel.
Okay, here's some drawings. There's a lot of depictions, but here's like the popular one that people like to look at. It's very Lovecraftian and it's horrible. And that's why they have to say, do not fear.
Yeah, I've seen that image, and when you angelology and like the hierarchy of angels and all that sort of stuff, when you get into that crap, the image you pulled up is like one type of angel,
Right.
I think, something like that.
Anyways, we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the future.
The future,
And what I want you to do.
2000.
The year yeah. Wow, that was 21 years ago now.
No, it wasn't. That's,
What an era.
that's still in the future.
Well, maybe there's an apocalypse and the timeline resets.
Or we reinvent the calendar in like 5 years, and then in 5 years it's actually gonna be like 1980.
So we're gonna be in the 80s again.
Yeah.
So we go back 40 years.
Yeah, they're gonna reset they're gonna like redo the calendar or something, and they're gonna decide it's 1980 now. And
I heard, don't we actually do need to redo the calendar at a certain point? Like, because of leap years, it's gonna get so far.
yeah, but that's a long ways off. We've gotten the calendar pretty good right now. At some point, yes. So, history of the calendar.
Didn't they lose like a couple hundred years?
Yeah, just a couple hundred. So, well, actually, not even a couple hundred, just like a few years, actually. So history of the calendar. I don't remember how many years it was. The history of the calendar. So goes all the way back to the Roman days, and the Romans used a lunar calendar before Julius Caesar came around.
Okay, 8 years were lost in translation when the switch to the Gregorian calendar was made in the 15th century.
Yeah. So just to explain the history of the calendar there. So back in the Roman times before Julius Caesar, the Romans used a lunar calendar, and I don't remember exactly the calendar system, but it was something like there were a certain number of days in the year that they had to manually just add into the calendar to keep it on track.
Right, yeah.
And they appointed someone to do that. Now, a kind of separate story is that person was Julius Caesar. His job before he gained a bunch of power was the guy that added the days to the calendar. And there's a great point where during the Roman Civil War, he needed to cross from Italy over to Greece, across the Mediterranean there. And there was a blockade that one of his rivals had put up. But because Julius Caesar, he was doing military campaigns and stuff, he had not been adding days to the calendar. So the military commander, thinking it was like December or January, pulled all his ships into port because he's like, you can't have your ships out in the winter. It was actually like April.
Oh, wow.
And Julius Caesar knew this, so he used that as... So Julius Caesar, with borrowing stuff from the Egyptians, when he was over there, created the Julian calendar, which is very similar to the Gregorian calendar, what we use now.
Yeah.
It went for a long time. We used that for a long time until, like, I don't know, what 1400, something like that.
Yeah, our days, our calendar's pretty interesting because... few of the days are Norse based.
Yeah.
Wednesday, that's Odin's day. Thursday's Thor's day. Friday is Frigga's day. Saturday, that's Saturn's day. That's Roman. And Tuesday is Tyr's day, the Norse god of war.
Yeah. Yes and no. So all 7 days of the week come from the Roman calendar. They just very coincidentally match up with some Norse ones.
Right, yeah.
We didn't get them from the Norse.
Oh, okay.
No.
But they adopted some Norse
1582 is when we got the Gregorian calendar. It's when it was made. And the reason they had to do that is because Julius Caesar, he got the calendar pretty good. So, with the leap years and all this sort of stuff. But, so basically it was the reason he put in the leap years is because, because of 365 days or 366, so a year is actually like 365, and he thought, and a quarter day, but it's not actually exactly that.
No.
It's very close, but not quite.
Yeah.
So over the next 1,500 years, they lost like 8 years.
Yeah.
And the Gregorian calendar corrected that and did a much better job. It's still not absolutely perfect, but it's a lot better.
Know if you travel to Ethiopia, you're time traveling?
Really? Explain.
An Ethiopian year is comprised of 13 months. It's 7 years behind the Gregorian calendar. Our calendar. Ethiopians celebrated...
So they just still run off of their own calendar.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's
Ethiopians celebrated the new millennium on September 11th, 2007. So they're 7 years behind. So if you go to Ethiopia, according to their calendar, it's like 2014.
Wow.
What a year, by the
What a
way.
year.
I was still in high school.
Yeah, I don't remember much of that year.
Thor: The Dark World came out.
I didn't remember that.
No. Captain America and Winter Soldier. That's a good one.
Didn't Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 come out that
That
year
did too, yes.
Yeah.
So it was a good year for movies, kind of.
Yeah, it was either
Marvel
that. I
movies.
think that was the year I went to Italy and Spain. I think.
Oh, lucky you. Nice. So that's the calendar,
The calendar.
basically.
That's what the fuck are we doing, Jackson?
We're talking about the
We're
past.
talking about the past. We're supposed to be talking about the future.
Yeah, the future.
It's what you do when you say to a history major, "Hey, let's talk about the future."
Well, before we talk about the future, let's just talk about what we've experienced in our lifetimes.
including one of these things we've experienced in our lifetimes is what we're drinking right now.
Technically, yes. Very recently.
Smooth. That was a smooth transition.
That
there.
was, yeah.
We don't have very much exciting stuff. We've got some rum, some juice. We've also got from Rogue Brewing. We've not tried this until today.
This reminds me of a certain cryptid we've talked about before.
Yeah, I think it's from the same series. It's like they're trying to do like the Bat Squatch thing again.
This one looks like a Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah. So this is a Colossal Claude. It's a Imperial IPA from Rogue Brewing.
Oh, let me read it. It's been a few decades since a Colossal Claude sighting has been reported, but we're fairly certain a massive sea monster has been laying low off the coast of its favorite brewery. Word has hit after years of terrifying sailors and feasting on salmon. He acquired a taste for hops. So we brewed this Imperial IPA with a colossal dose of Cascade, Chinook, Citra, and Strata hops in hope of coaxing Claude out to join us for a pint. So, according to Rogue Brewing, it's a sea monster that loves hoppy beers, that loves IPAs.
Yeah. I guess I'm just reading online right now. It's based off of a mythical creature in Oregon.
Yeah.
But it's not super well known because when you look up Colossal Claude, about 9 out of 10 of the results are about the beer.
Yeah, it's a local monster.
Yeah.
8.2% alcohol by volume.
Oh, yeah. The Cryptid Wiki. Here we go.
That's pretty good. We're not doing another Cryptids episode, but a sequel? Yeah. We'll do another one.
It's a Columbia River. Yeah. In Oregon.
Yeah, we'll do another Cryptids episode, but
Oregon
we're
and
not
Washington.
doing that today, or tonight, or next week.
Yeah.
We're talking about the future.
Future.
And I hope that futuristic music is already there.
Yeah, we haven't done any,
If not there right
we
now.
haven't done background stuff in a while, but we're throwing it in
Well,
this
well, I remember you forgot to put in the creepy background music for the SCP one, but I didn't say anything because I didn't feel like it.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, oh, he forgot.
I can go back and put it in.
You could, but you would have to delete that up. No, you would have to re-upload it.
I would
Right?
just have to re-upload it.
Yeah, I don't want to lose those precious downloads, so they can deal without the music. They'll be okay. You know, I think we make that episode creepy enough by ourselves.
yeah.
Well, we make
If you
it
want to make it even creepier, slow it down to about
half.
speed.
No, that would just make it drunker.
Yeah, it makes. Oh, that's pretty creepy. Some drunk guys.
Yeah, that can be.
That's real life creepy.
So I want to talk about how much technology has progressed since we were kids, essentially, since we've been around.
Yeah,
It's actually pretty crazy.
we're in the fastest
We're millennials,
technologically. This period of time is the fastest progressing out of any time in history.
And yeah, definitely. We definitely grew into the internet. And you could argue we grew up with the internet.
Oh no, we grew up with the internet, but also I just remember,
But not when the internet took over. Like
Yeah.
when it was everything.
I
It
grew
was
up.
everywhere.
I grew up with the internet, but I also remember when I was a kid, it was still the time where you didn't have internet.
When you would play
available.
outside and you get dirty. And
Yeah, you didn't have the
play with
internet
sticks.
available like absolutely at all times. It was like
It was still dial-up when we were little.
I had to use the internet at the computer lab at school. That's when
right,
I
but
had
like when we
internet
were
time.
born, it was dial-up.
Yeah.
Gen Z or Zoomers, I guess. Don't want to be
Yeah.
offensive,
Yeah.
but you guys have always lived with the internet. You've been born with an iPad in your hand.
I think it's really interesting watching kids. Sometimes
The kids that have lived, they have not known the time before the internet.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. You can see differences in technology and how it's advanced by looking at kids and the way they interact with old technology.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
I've seen kids assume screens were touch screens.
exactly. No,
Just
yeah,
like
because that's all they've grown up with. I think what's really crazy is that when we were kids, we had PS1s, GameCubes, Nintendo 64s,
I just had a Game Boy
Game Boys,
and one of those Atari knockoffs.
Flash games.
Yeah.
But just think about how much games have progressed since we were born. It's insane.
Yeah.
Hell, even in the last 10 years, games are leaps ahead of what they used to be graphically, gameplay-wise, loading-wise. It's insane. I remember sitting playing Crash Bandicoot like the first couple ones. Especially second one. I played that one a lot.
Yeah.
And just watching the loading screen, and it didn't bother me because that's what I was used to.
You watch the loading screen. It's also
Get a sandwich.
It's also fun going back and playing old games, and you see graphics, how graphics have improved.
Oh, it's insane.
One game I played I didn't play it a ton as a kid, but I have fond memories of playing it. The little bit I did was Morrowind.
Oh yeah.
And I thought that looked pretty cool as a kid.
Oh, I thought every game looked cool as a kid.
And
I thought the first Pro Skater was amazing.
Yeah, Pro Skater. I mean, you compare the original Pro Skater to the remake.
Oh, it's not even.
And I guess I do still think Morrowind looks pretty cool, but in a very different way.
Well, it's like a nostalgic retro way.
Yeah, it's got a charm to it and all that.
Well, like the original the first couple Dooms.
Yeah.
I still love them, and I'm not one of those people, and there's especially Zoomers. Growing up with amazing game graphics all the time, when they go back and play old games, they're like, "Oh, these graphics suck." It's like, I don't care about the graphics really, but I do appreciate them, and it is crazy how far we've come.
Some games, old games, the graphics have held up, and I mean, I don't know. I've gone back recently and played a lot of old games. Some of them not that old, but old enough to be considered old. And what I've realized is what makes me enjoy an old game is not, or what makes me enjoy a game is not the graphics. That's just a cherry on top.
No, it's the gameplay.
It's the game design.
The gameplay loop, the story, the mechanics.
I've played old games.
I will say the load time does play a part in it for me now.
It can be annoying sometimes. But with modern softwares, if it's a game that's optimized for the OS you're on, that helps.
Oh yeah.
But you take some games like if you try to play Daggerfall, Elder Scrolls Daggerfall, unless you're playing the Unity remake.
Yeah, the remake loads fast.
That's a fantastic version, but
I love it.
If Daggerfall is one where load screens and stuff like that, it just doesn't run well on
anything,
on like Windows.
Yeah,
it came out on DOS.
Yeah.
If you went and tried to play like a non-official port of Doom,
dude, I remember watching when I was real little. I have some memories of this when my uncle would play dial-up Diablo. And Doom.
See, I didn't get into multiplayer games until it was more convenient, until like the Xbox 360. Before that, I was all single player games. Game Boy and PC.
I played a lot of Flash games, but this isn't a game episode, but it is just such a great example of how far technology's come. Just compare Red Dead Redemption 2 to Red Dead 1. Graphics-wise, loading time-wise, gameplay-wise.
8-year difference.
Leaps
there.
and bounds.
Insane.
That's only 8 years, though.
I thought that Red Dead 1 still looked really good.
No, it still holds
Well,
up, but it looks like it's brown.
I thought
And that's a symptom
I
of a
thought
lot
it
of those
still
games.
looked really good until Red Dead 2 came out.
No,
And then I was
exactly.
like, actually, no, it doesn't look that.
We've talked about-
I mean, it looks good enough.
We've talked about this before, but a lot of those games from like the mid-2000s to early 2010s, they're all brown.
Yeah,
They all have
From,
like a
like-
brown filter.
from like 2007 to like 2010
yeah.
through 2010, it was like games like to be brown.
I think Resident Evil 4 really kicked that off.
I think so. I think that's exactly what kicked it off.
That whole game is brown.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the remake. They are doing
If I
it.
had to describe Resident Evil 4 to someone who's never heard of it, I would just say brown.
And Fallout New Vegas too, which I still love.
Yeah.
It's a very brown
Very
game.
brown game made with a slightly orangish tinge to it. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, give credit to where credit is due. Fallout 3 came out during this era. That game's green.
That whole game is green. Yeah.
It's not any better.
It's like barf green though.
Yeah, it's not any better, but it's not brown at least. It's green.
But it's just crazy. And now we're in this era where games just look like, well, how do I explain this? Pretty much every game, unless it's supposed to be stylized, it has a full color palette. It looks like what you would expect from a game now. Like it has good graphics.
Let's put it this way. Red Dead 2, for example, is a game, and some modern games are like this. I will go and play Red Dead 2 and just wander around taking screenshots
Oh yeah,
and looking at the game.
and I've been playing that game recently. A ton of it.
I don't
And
do
we
that.
did a whole. And by the way, wait, we did the whole episode on Red Dead 2. Check that out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like episode 30 something. But yeah, check it out. But
We'll be doing another one of those.
one thing I will
remembering
say.
video games
Here's
episodes
one
soon.
thing I will say about that game. Oh yeah, expect another remembering video game one. But here's something about Red Dead 2 that I failed to mention. And it's something that I've always noticed, but it hasn't bothered me. It is a little bit stylized.
Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it is stylized.
basically you have a very realistic, like, base for the game, graphics, but then there's like this kind of faded filter. I don't know if it's a filter,
It's not quite a filter,
but it looks faded.
so
it looks like the Old West.
Here's the best way I can describe it, because I've thought about this a lot. Take a screenshot of Red Dead 2, just of the scenery, and what does it look like? It doesn't look like real life. It looks like a painting. With the way the clouds are done and the way they've designed the world, it looks like a Bob Ross painting.
Kind of.
You know,
I see what you mean.
They have this weird, like, stylized.
I
where
think it is a filter or something going on, because
There's
it
definitely
does
at
have a
times-
realistic look to it, like all the textures, the
at
lighting.
times there definitely does seem to.
But there's something about
I think it's a filter not just to the whole world, but that they've put things into the screen, or the way they manipulate the light in it, to make it seem like dirty.
yeah, it's dirty. Well, and that makes sense
Because I mean, say
dirt roads everywhere.
I don't know about
you. Got
you.
dirt blowing around.
I don't
you got
know about you. I don't
fog.
I don't play in first person very much in that game.
Yeah,
But it's so if
play
you're
sometimes if I
you're-
want to be really immersive.
if you're playing in third person, how do you make it feel like you're actually in the mud if you're hovering above the guy?
You put like mud splatter.
Yeah, you
on
put
the camera.
filters on
You
the
put, like-
screen to add to
well,
it.
and like if
I
you're
think
like
they
in
do
the
that all the
swamp in the
time.
bayou,
yeah,
it looks like thick.
yeah,
with the
it
air,
feels like you're in
Yeah.
there. And that, I mean, I think it was really smart. They really make you feel even.
And then when like you go to
when
the
you're in third person,
when you go to the
feel like
snowy
you're in the
regions up north, it has this kind of crisp, like bright filter going on.
Yeah,
It seems to change depending on which region you are.
Yeah,
Maybe that's
but
just me.
I think that's going into like the idea that it kind of looks like a painting, because like if say you were to make a painting of a snowy region, you'd use certain colors that would sell the cold.
I think it's
effect.
it's not the textures or anything that makes it look like a painting. It's the lighting, it's the colors, it's
lighting
the filter.
and colors and the filters.
Yeah.
There is some texture stuff they do that makes it look like that, especially off in the distance.
No, like
when
off in the like in the background.
When
Yeah,
it doesn't render.
when it's not rendered fully or like.
Yeah, they've stylized that in a way where it looks like that. The clouds don't look. The sky doesn't look real.
Well,
at all. It looks like a. Like
we're gonna stop talking about Red Dead 2, but
romanticized.
yeah, it's a romanticized West.
Yeah.
When you're up at close, like when you're in the woods, like up close, looking at the trees, it looks realistic.
Yeah.
When you're like in a shop, it looks realistic. In like first person or like just in close quarter situations. But yeah, when you look off in the distance, it does have that kind of picturesque.
It's like the way they've
romanticized
done the
filter.
colors is. Do you ever have a moment wherever you are, out in the woods, out downtown at night with all the lights on, where you stop and you look around you, and it seems magical?
No, there's moments like that in real life
And,
where
and it happens every once in a while. Most of the time, it
Like-
doesn't happen, but every once in a while,
When you
everything, the lighting, the colors around you, everything is just
like when I
right.
went up to Telluride again, like when I was looking up at the mountains, it almost looked fake, you know, because it's so big. It's so.
Yeah, and it's just like you have a moment.
Or like when we saw the Grand Canyon, that looked fake.
Yeah, and it's just like, but it's like you have a moment, whether it's your actual surroundings or the way the colors and the lights have interacted, the time of day, the weather, where you have a moment where everything just seems really nice.
Yeah.
You know, you can think back. You have memories probably. I have memories of going down to downtown Claremont, and they had during Christmas time, and they have the lights there, and it just seemed right. And I think that's
Yeah.
what Rockstar was playing at, is that every moment in Red Dead 2 has that feeling.
Right. But we're not talking about
Yeah.
that anymore.
Yeah, I'm just gonna title this episode like "Future and Stuff"
And stuff.
because
But,
we're getting sidetracked.
well, okay, here we
sidetracked
go.
A lot.
Imagine how much we. It's crazy how much we progressed since like the 50s.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh, it's amazing. Like the first IBM computers were the size of this apartment.
I think this is the first.
a
I think this
warehouse.
is one of the first times in the history where you have so many older people just completely confused by new technology.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If you went back 100 years, yeah, old people might have been like, "Oh, you know, this is crazy how technology has advanced," but they wouldn't be confused by it. I think as much.
Wait, what do you mean?
Well, you know, like old people are confused by computers and shit.
Yeah.
But that's because technology has advanced so much in their
And
lifetime
so fast.
and so quickly that they've not been able to keep up.
Well, yeah, I mean, you have computers used to take up a warehouse, and now you have a greater size hard drive in your phone.
I saw a post online of this person. So this isn't my experience. I saw it online. They had a floppy disk. And this kid, like a 10-year-old kid, was like, "Oh, that's cool. You 3D printed the save icon." That's like one of those
Exactly,
moments where you're just like, I don't know what to say to that.
3D printing, that's something we can talk about.
Wow, 3D printing is so cool.
They've gotten to the point in the medical field where they can actually 3D print organs.
That's insane.
They could take
I actually
Well,
didn't
they
know.
use
I actually
stem
didn't.
cells,
I actually didn't know that. Yeah.
No, yeah. They can essentially 3D print a human heart.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, just the idea of 3D printing. I mean, 3D
just-
printing is also
I remember
pretty
when
new.
3D printing came out.
At
It
le-
wasn't too long
at
ago
least
when it was like
at
becoming
least
a
became
thing.
like a public thing.
Yeah, a public thing.
Yeah, I'm sure they had been developing it for longer than that. But
Well, I remember one time we looked up that
God,
touch
it
screens
was-
are actually been around since the late 60s.
yeah, but I mean, like,
This wasn't public.
you know, the first time I remember 3D printing being like available in the public market type of thing,
Yeah.
and
Consumer market.
it's like when I was in high school.
Yeah. Not that long
That's
ago.
not that long.
Not at all.
ago. You know?
No, but the whole idea, just the idea that I could, if I get the right, like schematics or whatever, I could print out a coffee cup. Just that alone blows my mind.
And there's also
Zoomers probably don't think anything of it.
Yeah.
But for me, that's crazy.
That's absolutely insane. I mean, also one thing I think is cool about where they're going with 3D market or with 3D printing in the future is they're going to be able to get to the point where they can 3D print with more materials.
No, yeah, multiple materials.
Rather than just that 3D printed plastic stuff.
Yeah.
They're developing ways to use different types of
Like
materials.
I said,
like you can make a coffee cup and it's safe to drink from.
Like I said, they can 3D print organs,
Yeah.
tissue.
That's wild.
Could
Could they 3D print a beer? At some point?
like the
Do you-
liquid,
Do you think at some point in the future they
like
could
synthetic beer?
3D print beer?
You type in the code for. Maybe, I don't know. I would try it.
In the far future.
But what I do think is going to happen. Okay. We know Cyberpunk. Do I think it's going to be exactly like that? No, I hope it's not.
No.
Because we'll live in a buggy universe. but what I do think is plausible. Now, okay. I just want to preface this by we have no idea what the future is going to be. There could be a technology there could be a technology comes out that we have no idea about. Just something brand new that has no relation to anything. We don't know.
Yeah.
But what I think is going to happen based off of what is already happening. So we got smartwatches. We got phones with us all the times. We got the Google glasses, all that stuff.
Oh, we'll get to Google Glasses in a minute because there's something cool about that I was reading about recently that I want to talk about.
But I think it is going to get to the point.
I forgot about it until you mentioned that.
I think it's going to get to the point. And this is kind of a scary future. But just hear my theory. When you're born, every baby's going to have a computer chip put into their brain.
It's not unthinkable.
Everyone is going to be on the internet all the time.
Yeah.
Basically, technology is going to be integrated with us. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, so the thing with the cyberpunk idea is, I mean, not saying that cyberpunk, how it's depicted,
No, not
is
exactly
realistic.
Yeah,
but the general ideas of
integrating technology with humans.
Yeah, integrating technology with ourselves. That is, I think,
Because
actually
people
a
are
realistic
wearing
thing
computers
we're
on
gonna do.
them, like smartwatches. You have your phone with you all the time. Like, it's going to get to the point where it's going to be built into you.
Yeah.
And it could be something as simple as... And this was actually... It turned out to be a scam, and they did it with CGI. I forgot what it was called. But they had this thing where it was like a hologram that went onto your arm, and it was like a touch hologram.
Oh, yeah.
I do think something like that's going to happen.
I mean, it's something like... And I mean, I think it's going that way because there's a lot of people like me, for example, where you take something like the smartwatch. I'm not super into the idea of the smartwatch. And it's not because I don't think it's cool. I think it's very cool. It's because I have the phone in my pocket.
Right.
I don't feel like
I have one, though. It's nice.
Most people that I know who have one say they're very nice to have. But I'm like, I have the phone in my pocket. Why would I spend money to have a phone on my wrist that doesn't do all the same things as my phone? But, I mean, eventually they're going to get to the point where smart watches can do literally everything your phone can do, and you don't need the phone.
Yeah.
You just have the watch.
And then
they're going to get to the point where it's going to just be on your wrist will be...
Yeah.
And...
Well, something that is happening, and I think will be a norm, is like bionic eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically, you don't need a phone, you don't need a watch, you don't need anything. Internet's built into you, right? You can just... you can look at something, you can see what it is, it will tell you, you can look it up on Google or whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, you could zoom in. Like, we won't have problems with vision at that point.
That, bionic eyes heads-up displays.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, going back to the Google Glass. So, the Google Glass, actually, just this last year, like 2020, the Google Glass was officially put out of production.
Right.
That might come as a surprise to a lot of people because they thought it was already out of production. Apparently, the Google Glass had been while it sucked in the consumer market, it became a very useful tool in like the private market with contractors and stuff.
Right.
Because being able to have a heads-up display while you're working on stuff on a table can be very useful.
Yeah. So,
but one of the reasons why it failed in the consumer market is because it looks stupid, and the Google Glass, the way it works, is it projects onto the actual on the lens of the glass, so everyone can see when you're using it.
yeah.
If they have good enough vision, they don't need glasses. They might be able to see what you're doing with it. So there's companies that have been developing glasses that they look like normal reading glasses. They're a little thicker on the parts that go around your ear. That what they do is they actually project onto your retina. So that way you can have a pair of glasses that looks like a normal pair of reading glasses that nobody can tell when you're using it.
I feel like that would be bad for your eyes.
I'm sure that's a kink they have to work out. But
Yeah.
it got to the point where they were selling it to the public.
Oh, wow.
And then, like, some big company like Google or something bought them out, and now they're going to be... So that you can't buy that glasses anymore. 'Cause
Oh, I see.
they're working on new products now. But it just got me thinking, because the way they had it, the way they were talking about it, how they use it, it's very limited in its use right now. You know, you can have your time on the display on your eye. You can have, when you get a text message or an email, that can pop up. You can have very basic GPS directions, and they
That's
had
cool.
it. They had it integrated with Alexa. So
Nice.
some people with like really rich really rich people have houses
Where they have smart home.
they have smart homes. So they had it like, it can be like, you can have it on you wearing the glasses, and as you're on the bus going home or driving home, you can be like, turn on the fireplace.
Yeah.
And it turns on the fireplace because it's
Oh,
right
there's
there.
people that have that.
It's right there in your eye, and you can just do that. And it got me thinking too.
I'll tell you
the
something.
It got me thinking of the potential of like that type of technology, having a heads-up display on your eye,
Like a contact. Maybe.
yeah, and contact, or however they do it, bionic eyes even, in the far future.
Well, I have some news.
Okay.
So I'm on this website, sciencefocus.com. It's 25 ideas about to change our world. But here's the first one. So, bionic eyes.
Yeah.
So apparently, in January this year, 2021, Israeli surgeons implanted the world's first artificial cornea into a bilaterally blind 78-year-old man.
Whoa. Did it
When
work?
This is what it says. When bandages were removed, the patient could read and recognize family members immediately. The implant also fuses naturally to human tissue without the recipient's body rejecting it.
My God, we are going cyberpunk shit here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what it's...
That's so cool. That is really cool.
Now, I think it's going to be something, at least for a while, it's going to be only available to the extremely rich.
Extremely rich, and it's still experimental.
Yeah, it's still experimental.
But we're going that direction.
Here's something I think, and this is something that is going to happen, for sure. So you have the whole idea of self-driving cars or driving-assisted cars.
Yeah.
Assisted driving. I think we are going that way. I mean, they have self-driving cars. They have their kinks right now. It's still not ready to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
And I would not
yet.
trust it yet. But assisted driving vehicle, I could get behind that.
Yeah, and they're working
Like
on
saying
that technology right now.
You know, it's an extension of cruise control essentially. Say if you're on a highway on a big road trip, you got 100 miles.
Cruise control, but it knows to slow down and speed up for you.
Well, my grandpa has an Acura that will actually slow down. Like if you get up onto a car,
Oh,
it'll
that is
slow
so
down.
cool.
It will like put the brakes for you.
See, that's a good example of I didn't know that was a thing. I thought that was a future
No,
thing.
it is the thing.
It's a now thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
But something as simple as like you can put it on cruise control, but it also keeps you in that lane and you're driving a straight line. Like I would trust
Yeah.
that.
But, I mean, one thing that got me thinking is so when I was
And I would still, for me, I would still keep my hand on the steering wheel for the most part. But like,
Yeah.
imagine if you were on a big road trip especially if you're like by yourself, which would be sad, but like
You can let go of the steering
you
wheel
could let
for
go
a
of the steering
moment.
wheel.
Go
It would
open-
work. You can
open
trust
your
it.
snack.
Go get some snacks. Go
Yeah.
get whatever, or take a nap for an hour. Well, I don't know if
I don't know if I would trust it yet enough to do that.
but
being
to
able
be able to do stuff,
an ability to like, I could take my hand off the wheel and it'll keep the car straight.
or it could get to the
Just-
point where you could get on
just-
your phone for a little bit, you
Just
know?
for like the long enough it takes for me to pull out my snack and open
and
it
it just
up
keeps the
and
car in
eat
the
something
lane.
real
You know,
quick,
so
you know?
that would be cool, and that's something that's already happening.
I mean, the way they're going with cars, and this ties in, I guess, to what I was reading about the glasses and what got me thinking.
No,
is-
yeah, here's
so-
I think I'm on the same page as you. Having a HUD on your windshield. So
Yeah.
like it can show you your GPS, it can show you temperature, miles, whatever.
that's
and
exactly.
It can like in real time, like say you're using the GPS.
Yeah,
it can
you
have
have
like the arrow on the road or something like you know.
yeah, exactly, and so
They could tell you like what road you're on.
you know,
like,
if
all
you
that.
if you had the thing on your eye, you could have that where it projects things onto the real
Well, you
world.
could do it on
And-
your eye, but if
and
you don't want
see-
it on your eyes, you could just have it on your car windshield,
Yeah,
like your
and-
heads-up display.
And see, here's the cool thing that the company that was doing the glasses.
I like this beer.
this is a very good beer. It kind of reminds me of Modus Operandi a little bit.
Not quite as hoppy.
Not quite as hoppy. It's very smooth. We recommend it. Colossal Cloud by Rogue Brewing.
Honestly, Rogue Brewing. I mean, I would recommend them.
All their
as
stuff's
a
really
whole.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, this company, one of the guys that worked with this company, he was talking about some of the stuff they were thinking about and trying to work on, but hadn't they're not there yet. And
Right.
and the thing he said that intrigued me was the idea of incorporating AI into the glasses. So-
AI is a whole other thing.
And that doesn't necessarily mean like Jarvis type of AI.
No,
But
no,
like
no.
AI that like as you're so you have the heads up display on your eye or on your car or whatever. It could be on your screen, it doesn't have to be in the glasses. So say you have the heads up display in your eye and you're walking down the street, the AI could detect, with the AI technology could detect where you are in the world in real time and like display stuff like, you'll never have to look at a street sign again because the AI will display the name of the street on the road where
No,
you're walking.
I see something.
Because the AI
I see that in 10 years.
yeah
or less.
because the AI can in real time detect what's going on and adapt and
Why don't
display
I don't
in
necessarily
your
think
vision
you can,
what it needs to.
I don't necessarily think you need an AI for that.
You would need some type of AI. Not it wouldn't have to be like, again, it wouldn't have to be like a self-intel like a Jarvis AI that can, or Alexa, but you need
Well, if your heads-up display was just hooked up to the GPS, because like a GPS will tell you what road you're on.
But it's not just that, but like an AI, I'm talking about like to be able to do something like display in real time on the actual world.
Oh, I see. So
You
like
would-
augmented reality.
You would need an AI that's at least advanced enough to be able to detect and recognize what's going on in your surroundings in real time. And that takes an AI. Doesn't have to be like
Well, yeah. Imagine. Okay, let's imagine.
when people think AI, they think like Jarvis. They think how
Terminator,
HAL 2000.
HAL, yeah.
yeah. They think these like super intelligent
Which
robotic beings.
do I think it could get there?
Potentially, maybe.
Not in the near future.
Yeah, but it could maybe.
Yeah.
But AI can also mean like a computer system that can in real time detect things that going on in real life.
Well, let's say
That's an artificial intelligence. It takes some amount of
I have
intelligence.
a dark future for you, a dark corporate future. It's like this one movie with the wrestler. I forget what it's called.
Rodney Piper?
Rodney Piper. It's the one where it's
What's
like
the movie called? I just know it's Rodney
they're
Piper.
here. I think it's the one where it's like buy, sell. It's like all corporate, like, and it's controlled by like he puts on the glasses, he can see the aliens or whatever.
Yeah.
But I hate to tell you, I think this is something that could happen. Like I said, they live.
They live.
They live.
John,
Yeah.
It's John Carpenter.
Oh, he did. Wow.
John Carpenter's They
I'm gonna have to
Live.
watch that again. But I could imagine, and I could definitely see this happening in the near future, where the government required, and this would definitely.
Roddy Piper. I
Roddy
said
Piper.
Rodney.
It's Roddy Piper.
It's
Yeah.
Roddy. Sorry.
But there's something that would definitely go against the Constitution and everything, and I hope we don't get to this point. But put a computer chip in every baby that's born so you can track them with GPS so you know where everyone is. which is scary. But yeah, it has its advantages. Everyone's on the internet, and you know you could pair it with like bionic eyes, or maybe even just contacts or glasses, where you look at something. I look at that lamp. The AI will figure out what that lamp is, who made it, what the price is for it, and I can order it online on Amazon.
Yo, yeah,
You know, that type of thing.
That I think that's an AI thing we are going towards very quickly.
No, yeah. And I wouldn't want a computer chip put in my brain so I could be tracked all the time.
I'm glad that we were born before we got to that point.
Yeah.
So we'll have the choice. Hopefully we'll have the choice.
I mean, yeah, of course it will have the benefits, but imagine if that does happen and where people start getting bionic implants, the bionic eyes, bionic arms, whatever, it's cyberpunk, you know, that type of thing. But I'm just scared of the potential that, let's say, because we're already in the era, the post 9/11 era. We're in that forever.
I mean, so take
where
the way
if you seem like you're a potential terrorist, you're a threat. You know.
Yeah, there's that type of thing, and also take the idea of
it could get to the point where it reads your thoughts.
How data analysis is used to on the internet to curate your experience.
Well, like algorithms and stuff, but like
algorithm. But I mean, so data.
Well, it's already to the point where if you type in how to make a bomb, you're put on like a blacklist.
But it's not just that. If you type in something on Google, if you're active on the internet at all, the way data algorithms work, you type something in Google, it will even filter your search results to what it thinks you want.
No, exactly, yeah. And based on what
and the result
before.
And there's actually a very dangerous potential result to this is the idea that you know a lot of people will say like, oh, I have political views that are different from you, but
that's what I'm scared of.
But I'm willing to talk if you're willing to be, we're willing to have a conversation and discussion. People will say that's the best, but when you have internet that
you will only see something that supports your political views, and that's already happening.
And what
that's happening on Facebook.
That's happening right now. So everyone who's interacting with this will be encouraged to think that their views are absolutely right.
That's already happening. I mean,
it's happening right now.
One of the reasons we're so divided as a nation, as the United States,
it's happening right now. And imagine if we had AIs and technology built into us that took that from the internet on our computer screen,
real world,
to everything around
everything. Yeah. And I think I'm scared that it's going to get to that point.
To the point where, say they had an electronic billboard, because they have those now. They have an electronic billboard, and you have bionic eyes.
Yeah.
They get to the point where
it shows you what you want to see. It shows you an ad curated for you.
It shows you the billboard that it thinks you want to see.
Exactly.
That is...
And that's cool, but it just has so much potential for danger and ill use. And the whole idea,
that's the type of stuff that could lead to a civil war.
If it gets to the point where, like, if you think about any kind of resistance or protest against, like, a country or against the United States, gets to the point where they can just activate the kill switch.
It's
because if you have a computer chip built into you, they could probably make it where it could just kill you.
I think when it comes to technology, we are at a crucial time right now.
And what's scary about, you think, oh, that could never happen. They would never let that happen. The government, Congress, is so behind on technology at this moment.
Yeah.
Technology is increasing at such a rapid pace that the governments can't keep up with it. And because the governments are supposed to act slow on new laws and new legislation. And technology is going so fast where it's even beyond as slow as it used to be. So it could get to the point where no matter what the Constitution says, if a technology exists that there's no legislation for, things could happen that we don't want to happen.
I really think so. We talk about the potential technology and how it could be used for really cool things, and how it could also potentially become something that creates a dystopian, and it could create a dystopian thing. I think right now,
I think where we're going though, realistically, is that. and it's already happening, as we talked about, is that
corporate controlled.
Well, corporate control, but also just the algorithms predicting what you're going to want to see.
Yeah.
People are going to become so isolated from other people's beliefs because we're going to see what we want to see. But we find more people like that.
Another thing is, though, is that idea of that data analysis and showing you what you want is becoming more well known. It's shown up in court and in Congress and stuff.
No, it's finally catching up.
I think we're at a very crucial point in history because this technology that we're developing is really cool, and it could go on to create a really cool future or a dystopian one. And I think we're at a very crucial point in history.
Oh, definitely.
Depending on how we act in our lifetime right now will determine where it goes.
No, definitely.
I think that's where we're at right now. I think in our lifetime we won't see it get to dystopian. Probably. I hope.
I don't know. I mean,
but
definitely in the next generations, you Zoomers out there.
Yeah.
Or whatever the next one's called.
Or at least by the time it gets to dystopian, I'll be so old
my
that
nephews,
that I don't care anymore. I'll just be allowed to be like the grumpy old man.
Imagine what we're going to see in 20 years. Like when we're in our 40s.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. Because there is going to be technology that comes out that has we have no idea about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And because we're only making predictions based on what we've experienced, what technologies already exist.
Honestly, what I think about how we create laws to monitor this type of technology, it's not just wait till technology comes out and see how it does and create a law. And this is more difficult than it sounds, and it doesn't even sound easy.
We create laws in like anticipation.
Not necessarily just not like an anticipation necessarily, but create laws that can be versatile,
right?
In how they're applied to new technologies.
Yeah,
that allow us to adapt. Like, I wouldn't want to go so far as to just anticipate new technologies and create laws. That would be borderline unconstitutional.
No, yeah.
But create laws.
See, it could go bad either way.
Yeah, create laws that would allow us to adapt.
But if you create laws too fast,
and
that's when it could get unconstitutional.
Exactly. And what I'm saying, I mean, what I said is that's easier, or that's harder, or that's easier said than done, and it doesn't even sound easy said.
But we're talking about like algorithms, like giving
us
ads and stuff that we want to see, or putting us along with people of the same views and ideas. With the whole bionic eye idea, or even just like glasses, contacts, all that kind of stuff, I think our reality is going to be completely different from what we see now.
That's why I study philosophy.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, you could argue that our realities are already different.
Yeah, it's so by the time I have bionic eyes and I'm pretty much a cyborg and I'm questioning my reality and what I'm seeing, I'll be like, that's cool. I'm used to this.
Yeah.
I've been questioning it since before I had bionic shit.
Well, it's going to get to the point where no one's questioning it, where people just see what they want to see, and the truth, I mean, we're getting to the Matrix point there. You know, where the whole brain in the jar idea.
Oh, God.
Which could already be happening. We can't prove it.
We should do an episode where we just talk about some of the we should do a philosophy episode, but not talk about philosophical theories. Talking about some of the famous thought experiments, because that's where it gets fun. At least for people who are super into philosophy. Talk about the brain in the jar thought experiment, the trolley thought experiment. These thought experiments that are just really fun to think about.
Yeah.
Without getting too far into the theology and the philosophy.
But let's talk about something less dark and dystopian.
Yeah.
So where do you think video games are going to go?
Oh, God. I have somewhere I want to go with this.
All right.
But it's not related to video games. Well, it is related to video games, but it's not about video games.
Okay.
Video game technology is advancing movies. Movie making
technology.
Definitely. We were talking about this before
motion
we
capture.
Started recording a little bit. Motion capture is a big one, but the one I want to talk about. So Unreal Engine 5 just came out.
Did you see the tech demo for that?
My God, it looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're getting to the point now. So Unreal Engine 5 came out, and we've been using Unreal Engine in movies to create scenery
without even knowing it.
for years now. And a more famous recent example is The Mandalorian and the technology they developed for that, of the big giant screen behind them that can adapt in real time to where the camera is.
Yeah.
To allow and it's cool
Well,
because
it
creates a better looking image than green screen, and it allows the actors to actually visualize better where they are.
Yeah, exactly. It makes
It's-
it way better.
It's just
Instead of being in a big green
it's
box.
so much better than green screen. but what they were doing with that is it's not just a background they made, like a static background. They actually they used Unreal Engine for that. Unreal Engine 4.
Oh wow, 4?
Yeah, because Unreal Engine 5 hadn't come out yet.
Right, yeah. And 4 is
and-
still a good one.
And what they do is they've been going in and creating, instead of creating just a CG background, they actually go in and create a world
With its own physics.
with its own
you know.
physics and its own actual landscape that you could, if you were in the computer with a rendering of that world, you could go in and explore it.
Does the
if you
recent
needed to.
so I know Mandalorian used that. Does the recent Marvel show use that?
I have
Loki.
I actually don't know.
There's a
Um,
recent Loki episode. I don't think you've seen it.
The
But
third, the third one, I'm
Definitely seems like it uses that.
not- possibly. It's the same. I mean, same company.
I don't want to spoil too
Disney.
much, but basically they go to a different planet.
Okay, I have not seen it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
We get to.
I've,
By
I've
the
wa-
way, definitely expect a Loki episode from us.
Yeah, I've not watched episode 3 yet. I've only watched
Oh,
the
it's
first
good.
2. Yeah, we'll do Loki
I
episode.
love that show.
And probably while we're at it during the same episode, we'll talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier a bit.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, so the Mandalorian, they're doing this thing where in the past they would create sets that were more like illusions, where you had either a real back set or a CG set.
Or you
like
would have a
background.
set with some props, and then you would have a green screen
Yeah,
wall.
and the green screen
know.
was like you create a background, or maybe some very limited CG like 3D models. They're using like video game engines, Unreal Engine 4, and now that Unreal Engine 5 is out, it's going to be getting even better
Yeah.
to create actual worlds, actual landscapes that they can insert into the background into these big screens that they're using to create. I mean, it sells the effect even better because it allows them to really like create realistic lighting effects onto the background.
That coupled with motion capture.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be indistinguishable
They can
at a
create-
certain point.
They
Like,
can create light, the way they can manipulate light in the background when they have a real actual world they're working
well, I've
with.
talked about this.
They can match the light.
I don't know if I talked about this on the show, but the whole battle on Titan with Thanos. It's one of the greatest CG scenes I've seen.
Amazing.
Especially the motion capture of Thanos.
Considering
like, you see all
that-
his skin,
Considering
his
that
pores, his
scene
hairs.
is pretty much animated.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's so convincing, the lighting, the textures. But I think, it's going to get to the point where that doesn't look as good.
I mean, they're doing stuff like, I mean, it even makes it more realistic while they're filming, because when you're using Unreal Engine, they're not just creating a set and just inserting it. They're live. They have their computers hooked up to that screen in the background,
and
like
they
in
can
The
change
Mandalorian.
background in real time.
They can change it in real time, which means what they can do is they can alter the lighting in real time to match the lighting on the set.
Yeah.
Which, when you're using green screen, you film it and then you go in and create it and add it. And if the people doing the green screen don't get the lighting
Green
just
screen
right,
can look really good.
it can look very good. But if they don't get the lighting just right, it looks
Then
off.
it's awful. Then you
look-
can see
it
the
looks off.
lines. It's very obvious.
And that's easier. It's easier to make that mistake than people think it is. People shit on bad green screen effects a lot, and rightly so. But they also remember that green screen is hard. Special effects, CGI is very hard. Mistakes happen. There's some really funny. Go onto YouTube and watch Corridor Crew. Corridor is a big YouTube channel.
Yeah.
They have their second channel. They do special effects artists or VFX artists react, and they watch VFX shots and talk about, because all these guys they do special effects and CGI for a living. And I mean, there's stuff like in big blockbuster movies where you have a CGI character, and then the last frame before it cuts, the character completely disappears. And when
Which one?
This happens all the time. And you never notice it when you're watching it.
Yeah,
Because it's one frame. It's one frame. But like, mistakes happen all the time. We don't notice 99% of them.
Yeah, unless you go frame by frame.
But like this Unreal Engine stuff and how video game technology is advancing and moving into movies, I think it's going to create a situation where it's actually easier to avoid the mistakes, because it's going to create a thing where we can more easily, in real time, combine CGI with live action while we're filming. And that's what The Mandalorian did. The Mandalorian took the approach of, we're not going to film on a green screen and then go add all the CGI. They said, we're going to do as much on camera as we possibly can.
Yeah.
Which makes an infinitely better product.
Eventually, nothing will be done in post.
Eventually, yeah. I think that's the coolest thing. Eventually, either nothing will be done in post.
The only things that will be done in post is like the editing.
Yeah.
You know.
Eventually, no special effects will be done in post because the technology has advanced so much we can do that in real time on set, or everything will be done in post and we don't even need a set. Either way, that's pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Like, the way movies are advancing using video game technology is
But then we have
super
movies that kind of humble us again.
Yeah.
Like Josh Whedon's Justice League with the whole CGI cover-up mustache thing with Henry Cavill.
Yeah. You want to know one of the quick side tangent here, why that looks so weird?
Why?
So animating a human mouth is very...
That's really hard. There's a lot of moving parts.
It's very hard, and the biggest mistake people make when animating a human mouth is watch someone talk sometime. People's upper lip doesn't move very much.
No.
So, Superman's upper lip moves a little bit too much.
Yeah.
That's why it looks weird. It's very subtle. But the thing is, humans, we are
Well, it's the uncanny valley.
Yeah, we are biologically,
We can detect
evolved to recognize a face that we recognize. Faces are the most difficult CGI thing to do.
Yeah.
Because humans have like things in our brain that are specifically evolved to recognize faces.
Yeah.
So you mess up one tiny thing, like the upper lip. It'd be like if I'm talking like this, and I'm moving my upper lip right now a lot. It looks weird and you're looking there. It looks weird because you're like, that's not how it works.
Yeah.
And that's why the Superman's face looks weird in that, because they got his mouth wrong. Specifically, his upper lip it moves a little bit too much, and we can't help it. We're humans. We evolved to notice that shit.
Well, and it's also obvious that it's like covering something up.
Yeah. There's some weird blurring going on.
I saw someone do a deep fake version.
That was also Corridor Crew.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, they did the deep fake.
There's this one guy, Control Alt Delete, or what is it? I forget what he's called, but he does a bunch of deep fakes.
Yeah.
And he did one where he deep faked Jim Carrey over Jack Nicholson in The Shining.
Oh wow.
And it's perfect.
It's impressive when
their
people...
facial structures are similar enough where it just works.
Well, it's really impressive when people can deep fake other people onto other people.
And if they did a Shining reboot, I'd want Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Well, because deepfake. I mean, let's talk about deepfake technology for a moment here, because this is something that's advancing very quickly.
Basically, and unless I'm wrong, to sum up deepfakes, it's basically you get an AI to analyze dozens or a bunch of pictures of someone's face from different angles, different lighting.
Not even dozens, thousands.
Thousands, yeah.
Hundreds to thousands.
Thousands of pictures of a single person's face. And then it compiles all those pictures.
It does it on both people. Both the original footage
and then the person that's replacing.
Actor and the person that's replacing.
Yeah.
Ideally, you have the original actor to do it too as well, although that's difficult sometimes.
Yeah. But yeah, basically what you're doing is you're getting all these images of these faces of the same one or two people. And then the AI fills in the blanks, essentially.
Yeah.
And then it figures out through, machine learning, all this stuff. That's really hard to understand for me.
How AI works.
Yeah, it's hard to understand for people that make it.
I want to claim for a second.
People that program AI can barely understand.
I don't for a second understand.
Because you're essentially programming something to program stuff for you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. AI is ridiculous.
But, and then basically you get, if it's done right with enough time and with enough sources, enough images, you get an uncanny face.
Basically, what it does is it takes the new actor's face and implants it onto the old images.
Yeah.
Now, there are limitations to it, specifically being, on top of sometimes lighting is a little bit off.
Lighting's definitely important.
That's one of the issues that they haven't worked out the kinks completely yet. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
But you can't just do that to anyone have it look right.
No, they have to have similar facial structures.
Similar facial. So the Corridor Crew, the YouTube channel I mentioned, they did a video where Mandalorian season 2 finale, Luke Skywalker shows up. Spoilers, if you haven't fucking watched that yet.
And I think that looks fine.
It looked fine. So what they did is they had an actor come in as a stand-in. They did a CGI. They had Mark Hamill do the voice. It looks fine for the minute that he's on screen.
Yeah.
So the Corridor Crew, they were like, because they've actually worked on some of the cutting edge, like the best of the best technology of deepfakes.
Yeah.
So they decided to see let's deepfake.
Isn't deepfake actually way cheaper than doing a CGI face?
Yeah, but it's also very hit or miss. That's the problem.
Oh, okay.
It's not as reliable. It can look amazing. It can also not look. It can also look terrible, clearly.
So it's still safer to do motion capture.
So they did a thing where they deepfaked one of their employees who they thought had a similar facial structure to Luke Skywalker onto Luke Skywalker, and of course you can still tell it's not him, but it looked pretty good. But it's one of the big things where you really have to have an original. Someone who looks very similar. So they did another video a few years back as an example where they deep faked Will Smith. So they brought in a Will Smith impersonator and deep faked Will Smith's face onto him. And for comparison, and it looked really, really good. It looked like Will Smith. And then also, for comparison, they actually brought in Will Smith.
I just drank hot rum.
Oh, shit. That's nasty. You got some Kraken.
Yeah.
It's hot. It's hot in here.
It is very hot in here.
But also, for comparison, they actually managed to get Will Smith to come in, and they deep faked the Will Smith impersonator onto Will Smith.
Yeah.
And it just looked like Will Smith.
Oh, wow.
But so deepfakes are really cool, but they're very hit or miss because if you don't have the right people, to do the actual imaging.
So, what about energy technology?
I don't know. I just watched Iron Man 1, and I think we're gonna have arc reactors.
Arc reactors?
I have no idea.
That's very impossible to do right now.
I don't know. I don't even know what an arc reactor is.
Well, basically, essentially, it's something that has the power of a nuclear reactor, but the size of an apple.
And without the nuclear waste?
Yeah.
Well, except for in
Palladium, Iron Man 2, but then he upgrades it. He creates vibranium? Or no?
No. It's a new element.
I thought it was vibranium that he just created.
He didn't create vibranium. He created a new element.
Well, no, it's like how we discovered element 115. We scientifically created it like an atom. But it already exists somewhere in the universe.
Here we go. Marvel Wiki.
The wiki. It's a new element. But at the time, I remember people saying it was vibranium.
I don't think it is vibranium. I think that was just what people were
speculating.
On the Marvel Wiki, it does not say it's vibranium.
What isn't then?
It doesn't. It just says Tony Stark's new element. They never specify what it is.
Well, anyways, yeah, he creates a new element, then it's like good.
That can replace palladium.
And then it's like self-sustaining. Anyways.
It says on the Marvel Wiki, the element generates power similar to that of the Tesseract.
Yeah.
Which Howard Stark found and studied. So I think that's implying, because they implied it in Iron Man 2, Howard Stark
He
initially...
kind of created an artificial Tesseract.
Yeah, so Howard Stark, through studying the Tesseract...
he couldn't replicate it.
Discovered this element, but wasn't able to create it.
Right.
He left the clues for Tony to
in
figure
the
it out.
map.
Yeah, he left the which is a weird plot device. I will say.
Yeah.
It's a decent movie. It's a weird plot device. So Tony created it using that. So I guess it's an element that Howard Stark discovered based on studying the Tesseract.
Oh.
That's what it seems like.
Well, that's cool.
DM us and yell at us if we're wrong. If you're a if you're a Marvel expert.
Yeah. But anyways, energy technology. So apparently we're gonna get energy storing bricks.
Okay, explain that to me.
So what? So researchers led by Washington University in St. Louis, Missouri, have developed a method that can turn a cheap and widely available building material into smart bricks that can store energy like a battery. Although the research is still in the proof of concept stage, the scientists claim that walls made of these bricks could store a substantial amount of energy and can be recharged hundreds of thousands of times an hour. Researchers developed a method to convert red bricks into a type of energy storage device called a supercapacitor. That sounds like a sci-fi thing.
So these are
Regular red bricks.
These are bricks, so you'd build a building out of them,
just regular bricks.
and then the bricks could store energy.
They could be like converted into energy batteries, essentially.
So the bricks could theoretically store energy, and what would be the point of that? So,
Okay,
So would that be like a type of thing?
This is
where,
how they would do it.
Okay.
You put a conducting coating known as pedo, I don't know if it's French, onto brick samples. When then seed through to fire bricks, porous structure, converting them into energy storing electrodes. Iron oxide, which is the red pigment in bricks, helped with the process.
But what would be the
So they
application?
put this coating on the bricks.
Yeah. So what would be the application of this? Like you could build a building out of these bricks.
Basically, they could store energy, and you would use the bricks to store energy to power your house.
So would
or
this
your
be
building.
this would be a thing where you once a month charge up your house, and then your house would run off the bricks for a month, or would it be a type of thing where you have energy coming like normal from the power plant, but then your bricks are
It
stored
stores
up,
them.
so if there's a blackout,
Then you have power because your bricks stored it.
that'd be really cool. Either way they did it.
Well, imagine if you couple
however
that.
they use it. It's pretty cool.
Well, imagine if you couple that with a solar panel roof.
Oh,
Then
yeah.
your house would be completely sustainable.
Yeah, well, that absolutely. There's actually solar panels. Speaking of technology,
And they
advancing,
still store solar energy even when it's cloudy.
Yeah,
by the way.
speaking of technology advancing, solar panels have gotten to the point where they're actually like a viable power source.
Yeah.
To the point where
Just whether or not corporations want to use them.
yeah, to the point where depending on if you're careful about your electricity use, you can actually have excess energy from your solar panels.
Yeah.
So these bricks would, and the way solar panels are advancing, they're advancing still very quickly. You're right. That could make solar panels a viable energy source combined with these bricks. So you have solar panels, and then when you're not using energy from the solar panels, it stores it in the bricks.
And then you could have the bricks.
Supplement when you're using too much energy.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be really, really cool.
Another one that I come across that's kind of brick related. But it's not an energy storing thing. But this is self-healing living concrete.
You mentioned this, please, but you didn't tell me much about it.
Okay, apparently at the University of Boulder, scientists have developed what they call living concrete by using sand, gel, and bacteria. Researchers said this building material has structural load-bearing function that is capable of self-healing and more environmentally friendly than concrete.
Self-healing?
Apparently, concrete is the second most consumed material on Earth after water.
Self-healing concrete?
So what that means is the concrete gets a crack in it, damaged, chips. Well, the bacteria will rebuild it.
That's insane.
So the team from the University of Colorado Boulder believe their work paves the way for no pun intended, for future building structures that could heal their own cracks, suck up dangerous toxins from the air, and even glow on command. So you could have a structure that repairs itself, and it could also glow at night, which would be cool.
Glowing at night? I mean,
so you wouldn't depending on how bright it can glow.
Yeah, you could have the concrete just be your light source, depending on how bright it is.
Yeah, and you have like this natural light source.
That is one of the honestly. That's what it's. I mean, I know it's just concrete. That's one of the wildest things we've talked about.
Well,
tonight.
concrete, concrete itself is historically one of the biggest advances in human technology, thanks to the Romans.
Yeah, the Romans invented concrete. Yeah,
and we've been using essentially the same formula for thousands of years.
And it was a good invention. I mean, concrete when it's taken care of lasts for forever.
When it's taken care of.
I mean, so these old Roman ruins and structures and stuff like that.
Concrete does erode a lot faster than a stone structure.
No, not necessarily.
But it
erodes faster technically.
If it's taken care of, it doesn't. But the thing about concrete that makes it better, though, you can do more complex shapes. You can do...
No, what I was going to say is, it doesn't actually erode that much faster. I mean, I guess a little bit than a rock, but, when you have rocks broken up into stones you can build stuff with, that erodes faster than concrete. So when you look at old Roman structures like the Colosseum and the Roman Forum, the reason why they're ruins like they are now is not because of erosion. Because over thousands of years of people scavenging materials from them. But if you take a structure like the Roman Pantheon, which is it's in the middle of Rome, I've seen it in person. It's the only structure in Rome that actually took my breath away a little bit. That was built in 100 AD. It's still the golden stuff that once was on it is no longer there, but the structure itself is still immaculate.
Yeah.
And it's not just because they took care of it, it's because nobody scavenged from it and shit.
Right.
So concrete when it's taken care of and not treated like shit when it's
imagine if you had a self-healing concrete, then you wouldn't even have to worry about that. It would just do it itself.
Yeah, that's absolutely insane. Yeah.
Let's say there's a big weather, hurricane. You build this new building out of this living concrete. There's a hurricane or some big disaster. Gets pretty damaged, right?
Yeah.
But then within the next week, it's back to its original form.
That's insane.
Without any cost, without any construction. Yeah, that would be amazing. Here's another thing I found. Living robots. So you may ask, a robot can't be living. It's a robot. It's a machine. Well, essentially, scientists from the University of Pennsylvania developed these hybrid robots using stem cells.
Oh, also, just thrown out there,
yeah.
I mentioned the Colosseum and the Roman Forum. Those weren't made out of concrete.
I
had to look that up. Those were not.
It was
concrete.
the
Pantheon was made of concrete.
Pantheon. Yeah.
They didn't. Romans invented concrete. They didn't make everything out of concrete. The Colosseum was made of limestone.
Yeah.
Which is notorious for eroding.
Yeah.
It's one of the most most well-known things.
The Great Pyramids of Giza will still be here after the Colosseum's gone.
Yeah, well, because the Great Pyramids of Giza were made of these massive stones, and they were so expertly built.
Which that's a whole other thing.
Can I say just something real quick?
Yeah.
So we talk about the Great Pyramids of Giza, and this is not a future thing; it's a past thing.
We can't do stuff like that right now.
Past things.
Essentially.
Oh, you mean the Great Pyramid, the Giza pyramids?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I just want to. This is something that got brought up in conversation not long ago, and it pissed me off as like a history major, and so I've done my limited study in anthropology. People look at the Great Pyramids of Giza and these things that these ancient civilizations and people did, the architecture like the pyramids, the astrology like the Mayans and the Olmecs did, and all this sort of stuff, the science and the math that the Greeks and the ancient people in the Arabic region did in the Middle East. And people are amazed by these feats. Rightly so, they're impressive feats. But people are, the thing that bothers me, it's real quick, is that people are amazed by the wrong reasons. People are amazed because seems to be this disconnect nowadays where people think like, oh, ancient peoples weren't as smart as us now.
No, we were just as intelligent. It's just the
Exactly.
technology we had
No,
access to.
Those were impressive feats, and they didn't have the technology and the thousands of years of knowledge that we have now,
Yeah.
but they were still humans, same as us. They're just as capable of ingenuity and creativity, and
But at the same time,
figuring stuff out as we
the
are.
fact that they didn't have the technology is what makes it weird.
I don't think it
But-
makes it weird. It makes it impressive.
It makes it
I
very
don't
impressive.
think it makes it weird at all. They were still humans. If we are capable of it now, they were capable of then, just with a lot more work.
A lot of slaves.
And actually, they weren't slaves in the Great Pyramid, but that's a side thing.
Oh, they weren't.
No, there's evidence that they were not slaves.
What were they?
Paid workers.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. No, the ancient Egyptians had slaves. I don't want to. Let's not paint them as not good guys who didn't have slaves.
aliens.
They had slaves.
Guy with the
But
big
there-
hair from that
there's-
ancient alien show.
there's
Insert him.
I love him. Got to get him on the podcast.
Oh my god!
Um,
I would be so happy to have him.
no, there's evidence that the workers who made the pyramids were not slaves.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I've always heard that they were slaves.
That's just a misconception that people assume.
I mean, they probably
Because
worked
the
like
Egypt-
slaves, though.
They probably did work like slaves, but they weren't slaves. They were paid, and they had houses and families, and there's archaeological evidence of buildings where they lived.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Of course, we don't know for sure that was
But the Egyptians definitely had
thousands of
slaves.
years ago. They had slaves. Yeah, they had slaves. There's just not. There's evidence that those
So-
workers were not.
But back to
slaves.
the living robots. So
Yeah.
hybrid robots made from using stem cells from frog embryos.
Okay, slow down.
I know it
What?
sounds Jurassic Park, the frog thing,
I wasn't thinking that, but now I am.
because
Because-
those
because you
dinosaurs are
mentioned it.
technically not real dinosaurs. They're frog dinosaur hybrids.
Yeah, because they're fucking.
Did you see the Jurassic
Idiots.
World Dominion teaser? Where it's like at the drive-in.
I didn't.
It's like at a drive-in and like a T-Rex shows up. And
They're really
wreaks
going
havoc.
hard on like the world's been taken over by dinosaurs, which I dig.
And like we're living amongst dinosaurs.
Yeah, I kind of dig that.
Apparently,
I'm not-
Jurassic
yeah.
World Dominion is going to be like the end game of the Jurassic Park franchise. They're bringing Jeff Goldblum. They're bringing what's his name?
The guy from the first Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and the
Oh.
third one, which isn't that good.
I don't remember the guy's name.
He's like discount Indiana Jones.
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill.
He
Bring him
played-
back, and they're
he-
bringing Admiral
played-
Holdo back.
He played Odin in the play in Thor Ragnarok. Have you ever noticed?
That's very
Did-
specific role.
Did you ever notice that?
And Matt Damon was Loki.
I noticed that the first time I saw it. It's Matt Damon. I was like, that's Matt Damon and the guy from Jurassic Park.
That's good.
Yeah.
But anyways, back to the living robots. So, yeah, hybrid robots made using stem cells from frog embryos that could one day be used to swim around human bodies to specific areas requiring medicine or to require microplastic in the oceans.
I was very confused. by
These are
all of
novel
that.
living machines as Joshua Bongard, a computer scientist and robotics expert at the University of Vermont, who co-developed the millimeter-wide bots known as xenobots. They are neither...
Don't call them xenobots.
That makes it sound like xenomorph.
Yeah, that's a terrible name. It makes me scared of them.
They are neither a traditional robot nor a known species of animal. It's a new class of artifact, a living programmable organism. That does sound like Alien. The xenomorphs, because they're like the perfect organism, but it's like biomechanical.
Yeah, don't. They're going in a way that I don't like. Continue though. Tell me what this is. The purpose of this is.
Well, the purpose is that so you put these bots into your bloodstream,
and you become a xenomorph.
Yeah, it's cool, right? No, but they cooperate with your white blood cells, and they basically give you medicine and stuff. And you could also put them in the ocean where they eat plastic.
Well, I like the ocean they eat plastic thing.
Yeah, a bunch of xenomorphs eating plastic. I'd be down for that.
That sounds cool. saving the planet with xenomorphs.
As long as they're just eating plastic.
Okay, I have a question for you. If you could rather, would you rather be a person on a spaceship stuck with xenomorphs, or a person who's been infected by the engineers who's going to transform into a xenomorph? Do you want to become a xenomorph? And that sounds.
But you're dead, right? Because the xenomorph just pops out of you, and then you're dead.
No.
You mean you're.
I mean, like you've been infected by
engineered.
the black goo by the engineers, and you're gonna physically turn into a xenomorph.
Do you keep your sentience?
No. Basically,
you die.
Basically, either way, you probably die. But basically, would you rather die through transforming into a xenomorph or just being killed by one?
I'd rather transform into one.
Because then you could go and kill all the other people as out of spite.
Yeah.
I get that. I think I would agree with you.
Well, I think because at least you would die in a arguably less horrible way. Or maybe it is a more horrible. I don't know. Physically transforming and slowly losing your sentience sounds pretty awful. But being stuck on a ship with like a dozen of those things. I don't know. You're just bringing me Alien Isolation flashbacks.
But the death would probably be pretty quick, though.
True. Yeah, they either do like the tail and the back thing, or the face through the, or the mouth through the face thing.
It would be awful for the 10 seconds that it happens, but you'd die pretty quickly, though.
Yeah.
And then it'd be over. So, like, I mean, if you were on an alien spaceship, or a spaceship with aliens, and you knew for a fact, like you knew the future. You cannot escape. Would you just go sacrifice yourself to the xenomorphs and be like, just get it fucking over with, instead of me living in fear for the next 30 minutes until you finally find
Or
me?
would I be like, I forgot her name.
Ripley?
The actress's name, I forget.
Sigourney Weaver?
Sigourney Weaver. Would I be like Sigourney Weaver and like somehow survive and like kick it out into space?
No, I'm saying you know for a fact, you know the future. You will die. You will never escape this. Either you die through xenomorphs.
I think I'd rather turn into one because at least I'd be useful in some sort of way.
Okay. But I mean, going off of that though. If you were a survivor, if you're on one of these ships and there's a bunch of xenomorphs, like 12 xenomorphs, and say there's other survivors too, would you try to survive as long as you could? And this is, you will not survive this. Would you try to survive as long as you could? Or would you just go out with a bang?
I would go out with a bang. I would go in with a flamethrower or something and just like...
My thought would be like, okay, maybe I can buy some time for you guys.
Or I would just kill myself so I'm not killed by a xenomorph. Can I do that?
I suppose you could. There's nothing in the rules that I stated that says you can't. So yeah.
Here's what I would do.
Yeah, you could do that.
I would take a few out with me if I could. Go out suicide bomber style, just jump into a group of xenomorphs if possible. Just blow a few of them up.
Okay.
At least I take some out with me. So yeah, I would do that. Here's another one, which is really cool. Tactile.
On this list that you found?
Yeah, on this list I found.
Yeah.
Tactile virtual reality.
tactile virtual reality.
Researchers from Northwestern University have developed a prototype device which aims to put touch within VR.
Whoa.
Using a flexible material fitted with tiny vibrating components that can be attached to the skin. The system, known as epidermal VR, could be useful in other cases as well, from a child touching a display relaying the gesture to a family member located elsewhere, to helping people with amputations renew their sense of touch. In gaming, it could alert players when a strike occurs. So basically, I think this is the next step for VR.
So it would be a material that allows you to feel things.
So you wear this material, and then let's say you play a game.
So in the context of, say, VR.
Well, let's say in the context of a VR game.
You had a glove that was made of this material. When you reach out to pretend,
Yeah, I think for the consumer market, it would be gloves, maybe some boots.
You reach out in VR to grab a beer can.
Or you grab
and
a
then,
gun, or like whatever.
Or a gun or something, and then the material would react to make it feel like you're actually holding an object.
Because of the vibration.
That is wild. That would be so cool.
That's something I could see happening in our lifetime, honestly.
That would be that if they came up with that technology, I would maybe go in for a VR headset.
No, definitely.
I don't have one.
If you
I've
put,
heard they're very
imagine
cool.
you get the headset, you put on the gloves, and then you go into play. And this would be terrifying, but like the newest Resident Evil has VR option.
God.
But you play that, but then like when you're in the game,
Why
you're,
would someone do that to themselves?
you're like crawling around on the ground. You find a gun, you grab it, you feel the gun. When you look, like everything is hands on. There's no controller. You're doing everything. And if they can make it where there's no lag, where it's instant, I would totally be down for that.
That would be really cool, actually. Yeah.
But I think it's gonna go further. Than that.
I mean, also like what one thing you mentioned is like infants like feeling family members they're feeling over
like your FaceTime
video call. Like that would be cool too. Like video call, and like a child could reach out and like hold a hand, like kind of touch their parent's hand.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool too.
But I think it's gonna go further than that. I don't think you're gonna have to wear a thing.
What do you mean in our skin?
No, not in your skin. I think basically this goes along with the computer chip and brain thing.
It's gonna interact with our neurosystem.
It tricks your brain into thinking you're feeling these things.
That would be cool, but also would freak me out a little bit.
It would freak me, yeah.
The potential
But
of that would freak me out.
I think you can do that. You know, if you got a human brain, basically if you cut someone's head open and you had their brain out, you could hit the right points where you simulate sensations.
Yeah, it's like the brain in the jar experiment.
Exactly. So it
That's
could
not
get to the
experiment,
point where you don't need anything.
Yeah.
It's all built into you. You can just like download a game into your consciousness, and you're playing the game, and like it simulates all the sensations.
I don't know if you.
Is that cool? I think it's cool.
It's pretty cool.
But is it also really scary and potentially?
Would I want that? No, I would not want that.
That's essentially the Matrix. Yeah,
I would opt out of that.
but if Keanu Reeves is there, and he's the one.
If Keanu Reeves is with me, I would do that.
Oh, speaking of that, apparently this is just, we don't know if it's confirmed, but the Matrix 4, Keanu Reeves is going to play Keanu Reeves himself. Because in this, the Matrix tricked everybody in the past 3 movies into thinking they won. But in reality, the Matrix is the movies, but the Matrix is real and just tricked everyone into thinking they were movies. So we're in the Matrix.
So the new Matrix movies would go the idea of saying that like we've been in the Matrix the whole time, and the Matrix movies were fabricated by.
And it was just a way of tricking us into thinking we weren't in the Matrix.
That'd be so cool.
And then Keanu Reeves figures it out. And then he is the chosen one still.
Is there any last really cool things you are itching to talk about?
Oh, is it time to end this?
Almost. We have a quiz here that we're gonna do, but is there? I'm just asking you, is there anything before we move on to the quiz you really want to talk about?
This isn't something on this list, but it's something I heard in another podcast called Distractable.
Okay.
It's a big one. It's with Markiplier and his friends.
Okay, I've heard of it.
And they talked about like fake technology, and this kind of inspired me for talking about like the future technology and all this stuff. But one of them, Wade, he talked about, and I think this is something that could happen. I don't think it'd be practical. I think it's something that the military would use. But basically, technology that uses sound waves that, you shoot the sound cannon or something, which there is sound cannons that apparently, if you use it within 50 meters within somebody, you will permanently lose your hearing. Use it with 100 meters, you get a headache. If you use it any closer than that, you're just dead. But this idea is basically you have the sound wave that it exactly matches the opposing sound wave.
Okay.
So you could aim at somebody and you could mute them in real time. So someone's really annoying you, you hit them with the sound wave, you mute them.
Okay. So, like, could this theoretically be technology?
And I could see that be using in like stealth purposes and military, like where you could mute all your movements and sounds.
Or could this be technology where when someone annoying is talking to you, you could just mute them?
It could be that too. And you could trick it where like they think they are still talking and they can hear themselves,
Yeah.
but you can't hear them.
I can think of situations where I would like that.
Like this podcast? No, you can just turn me down.
Not quite. Yeah, I could just turn you down. I could just turn off my headphones.
You don't need future technology for that.
I can just-
See?
There we go.
Now it's really loud for me.
What? Oh, right. I did turn you up a little bit.
You did turn me up. But what's something something that you think could or anything. What's something that you would like to see in the future?
Well, I would like to see in the future.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, honestly, the stuff I was talking about earlier about like AI being able to, like, in your eye, being able to, like, on a heads-up display, whether it's in your eye or on your car screen, be able to stuff like display the name of a street in real time
Right, yeah.
on the actual street. So I never have to look for try to read the fucking signs again because my vision's been getting worse and worse.
Well, let's say like you're on a highway in a big stretch in the middle of nowhere and there's not a sign for a while.
Yeah, maybe there's not a sign. Being able to be like, where am I? And it just shows me on the road or on the screen on my windshield.
You just have a constant, ever adapting HUD.
Yeah, a constant, ever adapting HUD. Whether it's in a pair of glasses or on my windshield of my car, that would be really convenient for my everyday life.
The windshield on the car thing, that's coming. That's already happening. I think glasses is the next step to where it's not like Google Glass where it's like a gimmick, but where it's like actual glasses that works. And then the next step, contacts, and then after that, bionic eyes.
Yeah. I'm not sure I would personally go as far as bionic eyes if I were still alive when that happens. Unless I was like 90 years old, then like what the
No,
fuck?
I think for me...
Then YOLO, whatever.
Well, we haven't even scratched the surface on like the key to immortality. And I think medical advances is going to get to the point where people can live well past 100.
We didn't really talk about medical stuff very much.
People can live well past 100, with medical advances. But I think it's going to get to the point where you don't need your own body to live so long. I mean, this is something we can already do. It's just the ethical problem of cloning people.
Cloning people, yeah.
If you could clone someone yourself and somehow transfer your consciousness into that body, then you could essentially live forever.
Here's a question for you. If you were about to die, and a scientist came to you and said, I could take your brain out and put it in a jar,
Yeah.
and put electrical signals through it so you forever think like you're living a normal life. Your body will die, you know you're going to be a brain in a jar, but you could go and experience a life for as long as you like. Would you do that? Would you take him up on that offer?
I wouldn't want to be a brain in a jar, even if I get to simulate that.
But you're gonna die anyway. He's saying he's coming to you on your deathbed.
But if I could be like a brain and a robot,
I mean,
that'd be kind of cool.
That'd be kind of cool. But, yeah. So you're saying you wouldn't take that?
I think I would still want to be an actual corporal body, not just conscious.
You will experience a corporal body.
What?
That's the idea. He'd put you in you put your brain in a jar.
No, but I would
send
still
electrical
know.
signals. It'd be like
But
the, it'd
I
be
would
like the
still know that
Matrix.
I'm a consciousness, not a real physical being.
Yeah. You would have that deep.
So just knowing that,
you'd have that knowledge,
that would
but
still
you'd be able to experience.
give me existential dread, you know. And
Yeah.
I still would rather be a physical being. So if they said, "Oh, we can put your brain into your clone,"
Yeah.
then that would work.
If they gave me a way out, at some point, if they said like you could have your brain in a jar and experience this for as long as you like, but you can have a way out, like you can end it when you feel like, I would take it. I think.
But who's to argue we're not already brains in a jar? And everyone listening to this podcast,
We will maybe do that on an episode. No guarantees. But it'd be a cool idea.
But yeah, before we end this,
We have a quiz.
we've got we've got a rather uplifting quiz. When will you die?
our favorite BuzzFeed.
Yeah, our favorite quiz site, BuzzFeed.
They make the stupidest quizzes, but we kind of like it.
So this is kind of a dread look at the future, but it's from 2015, so it's rather dated.
When will you die?
So, and we'll put a link to this. So number 1, how often do you exercise? Honestly, I want to exercise more. I used to exercise more. Right now,
I've not been exercising at all recently. On average, though, once every month or two.
I exercise about once a week. I do something.
Well, I mean, do you count just being active or actually going and exercising?
No, like I find time to at least like go hiking or do some push-up, do some minor stuff.
Okay, then maybe I do it like once a week.
Yeah. Where did you grow up? In a house? In an apartment? In a secret underground laboratory? We can't prove that we weren't grown up there. In a tree fort amongst several hundred other tree forts in a tree city? Underneath a series of power lines and across the street from a White Castle.
I'm gonna go with the White Castle.
Indiana. I like this one. I like this
I'm gonna
one.
go with the White Castle one. It's not true, but I like it. I just watched Harold and Kumar the
Well,
other
if
day.
you grew up in Indiana and you're listening to this podcast, you know what you have to pick. I grew up in a
Indiana.
house.
Yeah, that's actually where I grew up. I'm going with the White Castle though. That sounds fun.
Across the street from a White Castle. What's
Not
your
just across the street, but underneath a series
underneath
of power
a
lines.
series of power lines across the street from White Castle? What's your favorite food? French toast. Ooh, I do like French toast. French fries. Why is it all French? French bread pizza, French onion soup, kale, ew. Chocolate pudding frozen in an ice cube tray and eaten like little square fudgesicles.
French fries.
This is a very specific quiz.
French fries is. I like potatoes.
Dude, I do like French toast though.
French toast is delicious.
But French fries is like universal.
Yeah,
That's a constant in universe. French fries.
It is a constant in the universe. But it's not asking about constant in the universe. It's like, what's your favorite? Like,
Well, I feel like I still have to pick that.
all right,
What time do you usually wake up?
anywhere between 5:30 and noon.
Yeah.
Because I have a job. I work 3 days a week, where I wake up at 5:30, and then the rest of the day I sleep until noon.
I usually, for my job,
Yeah.
I wake up at like 6:30. But this one, once at 3 a.m. to pee, and then again at 8 a.m. to make French toast.
I'm gonna say
What is this author's thing with French toast?
I don't know. They must really like French toast. I'm gonna say mid to late morning because that's just an average of my entire life, of mid to late morning. If I didn't have a job, that's when I would.
6
normally wake
a.m.
up.
soft. That means maybe.
Yeah,
How stressed are you at this moment? Or
all the
in
time.
general?
I'm very stressed at all times.
My family calls me Captain Stresso of the Royal Stress Marines. I'm gonna click that one because that's fun.
I mean, there's nothing here that really matches because I mean, there's a lot of like describing how stressed you are, and then like I sort of just go with the flow, and usually that flow leads me down. But is there an option? There should be an option that says I go with the flow, but I'm also very stressed at all times. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm very stressed at all times, but I'm very good at kind of just accepting where I am.
No, I try to be pretty chill.
Yeah.
How many?
I don't know.
How many times a day do you breathe? 19,000 to 21,000 times, 20,000 times. What is this? 4 times a day, like a very, very deep breaths.
No, I didn't count today, so
4,129 times a day, exactly per Surgeon General recommendations.
I'm going to put right around 20,000 times on a good day because it specifies on a good day. Like, that's not all days. It's a good day.
Okay. So here's my thing. This is really sad. I hope this doesn't
This is a
happen.
lame answer.
In 2043, on one of the less important bank holidays, maybe it's Labor Day or maybe it's Washington's birthday, what's important is that it's not Thanksgiving because it's always so nice to see the family together.
What?
So according to this, I die in 22 years when I'm 45, which that's pretty
Okay,
young.
so it does give specific
I don't want
dates.
to die then.
It does give specific dates to some people. It just says we don't know the precise date, but we know it won't be on a Thursday.
That's what yours says?
That's what mine says. It says, I bet that's a relief, huh? You can't ever be struck down on a Thursday. So that's neat.
I like this quiz because it doesn't take itself seriously.
This is a pretty
A
good
lot
one.
of French
Yeah.
toast related answers. A lot
Yeah.
of just
I like this quiz. This is pretty good.
BuzzFeed. You finally got us to like a quiz.
Yeah, we normally don't like your quizzes. We got so upset with the BuzzFeed quiz one
Thank
time
you, John.
that we went to National Geographic Kids for a quiz instead.
Yeah.
That one time.
Thank you, John Luke Bocard. Is that a Star Trek pun,
It is.
or is that your name?
It is a Star Trek pun. Or if it's his actual name, congratulations on that very cool name.
Yeah,
It's
congratulations,
coincidentally
nerd.
very much like a Star Trek name.
Nerd. But yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
We talked about future.
And some other stuff that
And
weren't
some
very
other stuff.
future because we got very just
Well, you have to
sidetracked.
talk about the past in order to talk about the future.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So
And it's very hot in this room.
it's very hot,
Not quite as hot as last week, but still
but
pretty,
it's still getting into us. It's
still pretty
it's
hot.
slowly like driving us insane.
Yeah, so we're going to end this episode so we can go be not hot.
There you go.
Yeah. So let's roll the outro. What do you think?
Roll that outro.
This is not a test. I repeat, this is not a test. The Odd Drunk Podcast recommends that you follow their Instagram and join their Facebook group for more fun content. To view all of our current available streaming and social media platforms, visit our Linktree in the description below. If you enjoy the show, it would be appreciated if you leave us a rating or a review on Apple Podcasts. Okay, Colton, you can roll the outro now.